Now, I would imagine a lot of your public appearance time is right up there with what we see in Galaxy Quest. You just can't.
100%. Couldn't have been more accurate at all. Really. Frighteningly.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
The Tech World folks have been following us along for a while, but you're not familiar yet with some of the work that some of our Star Trek alumni do after Star Trek. Tim has actually had quite a significant and varied career, and we'll get into that, I think, in a few moments or so. But the next project that I'm aware of that Tim's got coming up is there's a season 2 series that was produced by Curtis Fortier as well. He's in the bottom left-hand corner for the time being. And a Kickstarter campaign that's running through the end of May. And Tim was the director of that particular season. So we're here to talk a little bit about that and what your plans are for 12-Sided Die. It's a series that is using the backdrop of a group of friends that are into gaming, D&D gaming, classical gaming, like we did when we were kids, but that's a backdrop for a more modern, like rom-com type of situation.
Yeah.
So I know that the trailer's out on Kickstarter. Go ahead and give everybody an opportunity to sit back and relax for a few minutes. We're going to go ahead and take a look at this trailer to make sure that everyone has a chance to see it. And then you'll have, for those of you who haven't had a chance to go to Kickstarter yet, you have a pretty good idea of the setting that we'll talk about during the bulk of this interview.
I love Cynthia. This is Cynthia.
The Cynthia.
That's my girlfriend.
Do you love her?
I love playing with you guys.
And we love you playing this with us.
How are you even a person?
He looks like a man on a quest.
Dude, I just want to say I love you.
Then tell her that.
I don't know how.
Just say it.
But saying it is
I love you, Cynthia!
overwhelming.
Don't blame me.
You're my inspiration.
Wow, you really can't sing.
Yeah, that's what every woman wants to hear.
It's an adventure. The words.
I have a little treasure for you.
Maybe I won a silent auction.
Mr. Curtis, Miss Cynthia, Mr. Chris, Mr. Eric, Mr.
Emmett Halverson.
With Emmett Helverson.
For he that sheds his blood with me today shall be my brother. That is awesome! Welcome to the experience of your life. You will battle fantastic monsters, travel to long lost lands, acquire amazing wealth, all in your head.
He just needs to commission one drawing. It would boost my portfolio nationally.
What if people don't want what I'm offering?
I don't want to let them down.
It was expensive. We're not going to waste a spot.
Stone Moon Duck! Stone Moon Duck! Orcs!
1 moon. Hence.
Let's get this over with.
One of the first things that I noticed when I looked at the trailer that Curtis sent across to me in the link from Kickstarter, the look and feel, if I can steal a face from Apple and Microsoft from back in the 80s when they were at war. When I looked at that trailer, it looks like something I would expect to see on ABC, NBC, CBS on the fall schedule. And I'd seen, especially in my experience with Trek fandom stuff, is I'd seen the look and feel of different projects at different levels. Is that something that the skill of the producer and the director have the ability to instill? Or is it also you get the film in the can and that look and feel and that polish is a result of like the post that you were just talking about a few moments ago? Because obviously it's not inexpensive the longer you're in post. It's just I've seen different productions all over. I never even really thought about it in my head till just now, but I'm sure Curtis almost certainly is probably familiar with The Guild, that Felicia Day did.
Yeah.
And you look at its first season and another comic thing against a D&D background. But I still think that if you looked at that and then you looked at even season 1 of what Curtis did, you would see that difference in look and feel I was talking about. So is that an artistic thing that you think that comes through in the final, or is it a technical thing that does that look and feel selling?
Well, in part, it's both, because there's a lot of technical aspects of directing that you have to follow in order to be able to put together your scenes in post, right? I'm just shooting all the coverage, but I have to know how that coverage is going to cut together. So a lot of that is technical. The lighting is technical. There's a lot of elements that are all technical. I mean, how the camera moves, et cetera, where you place the camera, what you want to see and what you don't want to see. All of that is technical. The quality of the editing in particular, the quality of the lighting. Our lighting is fairly simple. It's not anything extraordinary. It's fairly simple, fairly basic. The difference between what we had and what you saw in the trailer in terms of just the lighting, out of that camera, the lighting is very flat. It's not, the contrast is very flat. So you have to colorize the piece.
Okay.
After it's done. And the piece that you're talking about in the other show, they've done all of that. It's colorizing. You have to give the sound to a sound editor who has to take all the dialogue and balance it all the way through. Raise, lower, balances. If there's something missing or too much noise, they have to ADR. The actor has to send in the line recorded, and then he can drop it in and match the all that good stuff. I mean, the technical aspect of putting this together is really phenomenal. I mean, I can't emphasize enough how much work there is in doing that. And all these shows, there's simply more people working on them in those areas, all professional, etc. But on this project, the very first thing I'm concerned with on set is, do the actors, are they delivering, the characters believably and doing the job they're supposed to do? Do they have the lines memorized? All that good stuff. These guys were insane. I mean, some of those sequences go on for, 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes solid, without stopping. And that's how we filmed a lot of them. And they had everything there. And they also know the characters very well. So it's believable, which is to an audience is very important. Right. And the rest of it is myself and the DP, director of photography, making sure that we have this thing lit and that the sides are right and the looks are right. The technical aspects are correct. And the executive producers of television shows, including this one, maintain the final say on everything. Every detail is decided, especially in television, by the executive producer, person at the very top, the showrunner. Okay. And that's going to be, in this case, it's Curtis.
Tim, how were you approached concerning the directing of the project? And what are the things that you look at when agreeing to direct a project like this?
Primarily, the one thing, the most of the projects that I end up directing, if they're not my own, obviously, they just come to me out of the blue. They're random. And this one is no exception. It was a referral from another friend of mine who also worked as a DP and cameraman on this project on 12 Sided. And he just suggested that Curtis was putting together this second season of shooting and thought I might want to contact him about directing it for him. And so I did. And it just turned out that that was good timing for me. Curtis hadn't found anybody at that time. So I was able to work with him, talk to him about it and discuss it and said, yeah, I was interested in shooting it for him. I did one before this, a web series actually it was my next door neighbor who was producing it, but I did 2.5 seasons of that show a while back. So if someone comes to me about a project, whether it's a feature film or something that's even like something like a web series or whatever, typically if the content or the setting or the background of the project is not something that I'm familiar with or I have any experience with or culturally sensitive to, et cetera, sure, I may not take the project. But in this case, I did not know anything about gaming as far as role-playing gaming, and I do mean nothing about it. But looking at the first season of this show, that's not what grabbed me. What grabbed me was the characters and the relationships and all the hijinks. That stuff was fun. And so I looked at the script and for the second season, I thought, well, there's gaming, but that's just the backdrop. It's not the story. And the stories were compelling and they were funny and the pace was really, really good. So I could see it on its feet and I could see being able to shoot it. To let the actors, which I did, bring the story to life. They already know their parts. They already know what they're doing. All I have to do is get in there and direct traffic, man. Just make sure that the cuts are going to cut together in the editing room. Make sure it's lit properly. Make sure it's covered and that there's no soft shots that we can't use as much as possible to get that piece on the screen, because the majority of the work is what Curtis is doing now in post. The majority of the work is putting that stuff together. That's where the damn thing lives. And it doesn't matter whether you're shooting this or whether you're shooting Gone with the Wind. Gone with the Wind is scrambled eggs and some footage on the floor without somebody cutting it and doing about 800 miles of post. So That's the difference, you know. I mean, we shot this whole thing in what, maybe a week and a half of days, 2 weeks.
It was 11 days. We had 11 shoot days.
Yeah. And the post can take 11 months of work. And that's not just this, that's all the projects, you know, even when you got, you know, Paramount's, you know, 400 million people working on it, it's still going to take months to finish the project. So it's all about really, it's for getting it done is really that team effort comes a lot into the back end of this whole thing to make it happen. And on the front end, this project was appealing to me primarily because of the nature of the story and the characters and all of the things that they're into and what they're doing. That was fun too.
You mentioned Big Bear, which I think was this past weekend, if I remember correctly.
It was. We all just got back yesterday. It went great. Tim, it went great. You know,
it went fabulous. Yeah.
Yeah,
it was great. It was there was a fairly decent crowd for the screening, and there was a good long Q&A afterwards, meet and greet afterwards. It went very well. Very impressive to see. I've only been looking at it on my laptop, so it was very interesting to see it in such a big screen with full sound. It went very well. I was very happy with that.
Now, how much further do you still have to go between what you showed this weekend and when you say, yep, I'm done?
We're pretty close. I think almost the whole thing is scored. I just sent Tim yesterday a score for episode 7 and we got notes. But once that gets scored, the composer goes back. He does his full composition, you know, with all his instruments. We go back to the sound person and we marry that sound with what we have now, the color corrected footage. And when we were having dinner on Monday night, we had an idea to do some special effects. Kristen Wall, our producer, knows somebody who was a professional special effects person in the industry that works on big films. And he's like, I would love to do something for the project. And we kind of spitballed an idea and we found out just the right. It was where Kitty Swink is introduced. She's the owner of the comic book store. She gets introduced and there's kind of a meet cute between her and Andy Robinson. I don't want to give away too much, but we think we may be able to judge that with a couple of special. Yeah,
excellent.
Yeah, I can't wait. That should be pretty good. Now,
Tim came out there. We were spitballing. Tim's like, "What if we judged that moment?"
Yeah. Just thinking of the places. There's spots in there where special spots. Really, at least 2 of them that I could think of just off the top of my head that would work very well for special effects. We can throw in some stuff to just to enhance those shots, and it would be very cool. Definitely.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost a variation of the, it takes a village to raise a child. And, when you have those secondary connections that you don't really expect that come through for you and give you the opportunity to explore that. So that's pretty awesome. I can imagine that is crazy. And I know in our earlier conversation that you and I had, Chris, you had mentioned that these people are your friends in many cases. So
yeah.
Built-in camaraderie right there.
Yeah.
That, that's really, even though I've only seen the trailer, but no, after having talked to you and looking, there's a comforting ease, I think, that is blatantly obvious when somebody watches even the smallest scenes.
Yeah. And we're all friends, but we're friends because we were in an acting class together. Some are still in, some are not, but we've all been on stage for years, doing 4 or 5 pages of dialogue just week after week.
And that's what I mean by on the set. I didn't have to do anything. There's no notes, other than something technical that may have to be done for the actors because they all knew what they were doing. They all had it down. They all know their characters and we're off to the races. The previous web series I shot, exactly the same thing. I just got to make sure it's in focus. The eye lines are right. We got decent light and coverage. That's it, man. It's that going. And once in a while, I'll suggest something to the executive producer that we could do for this sequence, which visually might be fun. We did a couple of times. We had some things going on that were great.
Oh, yeah.
And other aspects of it were just in the script and we can just, reproduce them on screen. So yeah, that machine is up and running, man. And fortunately for us, there have been other projects where that was not necessarily the case, and makes a very long day. That's what it does.
Oh, but first, I guess that's next question would be for Tim. Actually, been very busy professionally since your Voyager days. Can you bring us up to speed on what Tim Russ enjoys as hobbies and special interests these days?
Yeah, mostly music. I've been playing music for 50 years. I'm a guitarist, lead vocalist. I have my own band, Blues Through Night, and so I pursue that and participate in that whenever I can. Curtis has been to a lot of my shows.
Amazing.
very much.
Yeah, if you're in LA, come see Tim Russ Crew. Absolutely.
So I'm still doing that. And as a matter of fact, I got a gig tomorrow night. I got to do it. It's all go out in the boondocks. So please do not make that drive. That's too long. In the meantime, so I'm still playing music, and also astronomy is another one of my hobbies. I've been doing astronomy for about 36 years. So still pursuing that, still participating in that quite a bit these days, actually. And so I really, those are the two things outside of working with film and television, et cetera, that take up my time primarily.
Okay.
I am astounded actually at the degree of musicality that has shown up in Star Trek alumni over the years. I mean, the Deep Space Nine guys that I absolutely worship the ground they walk on, they rebuilt that whole Rat Pack thing all over again amongst them.
Right.
And, of course, Brett Spiner, it's interesting because I think it's something that evolved in what I would consider to be Gen 2, the people that became involved in Star Trek during like the next generation years. Because you don't really see it as much in the older alumni because music was more variety show or Dean Martin-ish back then.
Yeah.
I'm astounded at the talent that they demonstrated that you guys do when you perform, because it's a side that we just never get a chance to see. And it's amazing. And if you are a music fan where genre doesn't matter to you because the way my mother raised me or something like that, music is one of the few things that can move you to tears or bring you to joy. And the result of that, there's no such thing as bad music. And
No. On the receiving end, you're absolutely right. The listener, it's the most powerful thing in the world to human beings. When we've had it ever since we were in caves, and it's still around and it's still going. But as far as the performers and entertainers, it shouldn't be too much of a surprise. It shouldn't be too unusual that a lot of actors are also singers or instrumentalists in some shape, because it's only a step across, a side rather, to get to one or the other. A lot of actors come from Broadway, and have been doing dance, music, and singing, all that stuff on Broadway, and then all of a sudden transitioned into some other show, and everybody knows them primarily from that show or that movie, when in fact they started singing and dancing. That's how they got their start. So it is not unusual at all. It's a very short leap from one to the other, and primarily because the live element of music, playing live, whereas film and television, acting in film and television is the farthest thing from that. So that's my release, as it were, to be able to perform in front of a live audience. That's the main thing.
Curtis, your social media platform of choice, when somebody says, "Hey, I want to see what's coming from Curtis Fortier Productions,"
right?
Where do you predominantly live if someone wants to follow you or contact you through social media?
It's Instagram. That's because it's simple and it's just, you straightforward. I know rudimentary Photoshop, so I can put something together, but that's it. And, I have an Instagram at Curtis Fortier, and then 12 Sided Die has an Instagram at 1212 Sided Die. So that's where all the updates are for all the festivals. And again, it's just because it's quick. I know a lot of people, and then you can tag it to Facebook, so you can do it. So any Instagram post goes right over to Facebook. So I guess you could say Instagram and Facebook, but I primarily use Instagram.
Okay, cool. Are you seriously considering even pre-production story planning for season 3?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Without question. Yeah. I know how it begins. I know how it ends. And it's just that pesky middle part that you have to figure out. But I know, but I know where I want to take the characters, and I know and have ideas for who I want in it. So, and the person that did coverage on me for the first season is on board to do it for the second season. So yeah, the outline's about half written. So it's just, I keep getting distracted by finishing this season. So, but it was also, we had, I remember, and again, my background is stand-up comedy. So I was all through the 90s and early aughts. I was on the road 50 weeks out of the year as a stand-up. And I saw Jerry Seinfeld do an interview once. They asked him why he still does stand-up. And he's like, these skills are too hard won. And going through season 2, especially season 2, to learn and to go through all that and how much fun we had, it's like, I can't just put it on the shelf. I got to try it again. I got, you can't learn all that and go, I'm done. No, you want to learn it all. And then, and we had so much fun. It was, I keep saying it's like the Muppets,
Absolutely.
It was like everybody. Yeah. So it was, so, and I know Chris Bell, who plays Cynthia, is so excited to come back. So, and she was just so amazing. So yeah. So I want to do a third season.
You also mentioned the side quest. I guess first off, was this something that was unique to season 2? Or did you also do little vignettes and stuff in season 1?
We did them for season 1 as well. And it came about because the person that directed season 1, because there was going to be a big gap between when we released episode 1 and then never released episode 2. That was, he's like, let's do some short content. Let's do like a vignette. So we did like 4 of those. And then when the second season came around, I knew I wanted to do more because I had all these like other smaller ideas that didn't fit into the main story, but are still in the universe. You know, they're still in, and you can place in. Plus, and this is the main reason I wanted to do it, so many talented actors helped me behind the scenes. Mitch Narito, Mesa Kronhaus, Ryan Lee Seaton, Will Dixon, they're all masters on set and behind the scenes. I wanted to give them something to do in front of the camera. But to take, 25 characters and jam them into 8 episodes, it doesn't work. So I came up with something called SideQuest, where some are longer than the other ones, but some of them, but they're in essence supposed to be a vignette or a gag. But and it's all kind of ideas from like that. There's one in the second season. Curtis comes up with a great idea for work. Well, he's got to pitch that to people at work. Well, again, if you throw that into the main story, it kind of breaks things up. But I had a good idea for how that might go about. And Will Dixon and Deborah Sullivan, who are in the main story, and Will worked behind the set, season 1, season 2. Will is a master set designer, but an incredible actor, and I wanted to give him something in front of the camera. So that's kind of a nice little way, to give people something in front of the camera. Ryan Lee Seaton, who she did Script Soup behind the camera. She's an amazing singer and an amazing actress. I put her in the SideQuest, which is kind of it's like a podcast at the Comic Gulch. It's got kind of a morning zoo feel to it. So, so that's really the main reason. I just wanted to give more people a chance in front of the camera that completely deserve it.
Did any of the side quests evolve out of something that you were going to do in an episode and had to cut it for some reason and say, come back to this later?
Yep. SideQuest 5. Exactly. SideQuest 5. We have a minute, like the guys, they call themselves the Order of the Orcs. And this happened just on set organically in season 1. They all go orcs and they all put their hands together like they're, that's a rah, rah, rah thing. And episode 6, they do it at the end. And then I wrote another minute or so but as we're looking at it, I'm like, you know what? The episode ends on, boom, together, because that's the crescendo to go to the next one.
Right.
And we had a minute of, which again, that minute had a beginning and a middle and an end. So I'm like, you know what? Let's do something goofy. Let's do a recap of that episode and then throw that minute on at the end. And then that's a side quest. So we did that. And other thing, obviously the 2 main characters, their boyfriend, girlfriend, they're going to have a date. We never show them have a date.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's show them out on a date. And they actually have a trivia contest between them. She's an artist. He's asking her artist questions. He's a Trek fan. She's asking him Star Trek questions. So I'm like, let's show them having a date. So, just kind of stuff like that. Yeah, so it's almost kind of like a spin-off series. So we have a whole separate.
It will mean a lot to your viewers, probably more than you will even know, because there'll be those little synaptic connections to their memories that you'll trigger something, a family member or something. And so these little moments are like precious moments in the old, the little figurines. They mean a lot. And when you get people that come up, like I'm sure that Tim has experienced this just with Star Trek, people might come up and say, oh, because of your character, I was, it encouraged me to do something differently or do something in my life. Okay. The Trek actors or Trek alumni are very familiar with that. But similarly, it can apply in a situation like this, Curtis, for one of the side quests where somebody says, that you sparked something in that little offshoot of a date separate from the rest of the series or whatever that was real humanity, and it maybe has a life or an expectation beyond that. Curtis Fortier.
Yes.
Is there anything autobiographical in?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no. Curtis Foster has a master's degree in mechanical engineering, as do I. And then he, in his day job, he's a permit expert. He gets building permits for architects. And I consult to do that, largely to make money to make web series. So it's So that is yeah. And he's a math whiz. I've tutored math. Trigonometry is my favorite subject to tutor. But yeah, so I'm a big math whiz, and I wanted the characters to be, technical, and, like the other character's a lawyer. A lot of times I see like a lot of characters are in the entertainment business, and I always like, nah, the majority of people have real jobs. I want people to have like a real, I mean, Cynthia's an artist, which I guess is in the entertainment industry, but still, she in the thing, she's more technical. So yeah, so that's autobiographical.